Hello, monster fans. Welcome to another edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
All right.
I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN SHERIDAN.
I am James GONIS.
And I am Larry STROTHE.
And we are doing a very special episode.
Extra special.
Very
Extremely
special.
From the grounds of Son of Monsterpalooza. Yes.
Woo, here in Burbank.
Here in Burbank, sunny Burbank, California. Now, this is a special kind of convention because this is sort of the October kind of Halloween-y
it's awesome.
version of the regular Monsterpalooza show.
Which is like a horror monster-themed convention.
Everything.
All things monsters.
everything.
Monster, a lot of focus towards like monster makeup,
Effects.
monster effects,
Masks.
sculpting, masks, actors,
Anything that has to do with monsters.
And
classic
needless to
monsters.
say, I would say this is probably one of our top two favorite cons, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Maybe even number one for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love this thing.
More than
Yeah, it's
Comic-Con?
good.
Oh,
I would have, Comic-Con is...
It's more reasonably, it's like more accessible than Comic-Con.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Comic-Con is fun, but
Weirdly.
and again, I hear I'm going to get mushy, but you guys make my Comic-Con. If you weren't there, it would be
that's
different.
so
I'd be just sitting in a room crying into my comic books. But
Well, Comic-Con is sprawling. At least this is a little more manageable.
this is manageable,
what it is.
and to be fair, this is sort of a smaller. Compact version of the regular Monsterpalooza, but still a great show.
Great show.
Yeah.
And James, you've been here for 3 days now.
Yes.
We're in
Non-stop
James' hotel
monsters.
room.
Marathon.
You did 3 days?
I really
3
did
days
it.
of
I
this.
did it up this time.
You must have
I did
seen
it right.
everything.
I saw everything many times over.
Yeah, and it allowed James to be extra creepy with each celebrity. Really make them uncomfortable.
Well, they do
a lot of like, okay, thanks. I'm glad that I could give you an autograph, and he just stands there.
Yeah, I got all the time
Yeah.
in the world. I'm here.
Yeah.
Will you be back
Hey,
tomorrow?
I've got another question about Monster Zero. So yeah, there were a lot of those kind of moments, but
they had some great guests here this
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
great guests.
Yes.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't get right to sort of the cream of the crop
Let's
of the
get to
convention.
it.
Akira Takarada.
Yes, the most special guest at the convention.
Famous
this year.
Toho Studios Godzilla film actor.
Was in the very first Godzilla film in 1954 and was in the last Toho Godzilla film.
We need to say this again. He was in the very first Godzilla
He
film.
was like
So
the leading man.
This was
Black and
back
white.
in 1954 in Japan and came to the United States in 1956. So, guys, you have to understand that it's amazing that this gentleman is here.
This
Yeah.
guy's here.
And
And
not only that, but he looks terrific.
Yeah. And let's not forget his golden age films like Monster Zero, Latitude
Oh,
Zero.
I love that
King
film.
Kong versus
King Kong
Godzilla.
Escapes, everything with zero in the title. Great stuff.
No, but
Fight Club Zero.
It was so cool. I actually, I got to meet him, and this is the first time, and I was just absolutely thrilled. And he could not have been more charming.
Yeah.
And he was just so thrilled. It was almost like he's thrilled that we love these films.
Well, and we were also getting a little bit of the sort of backstage thing of
Yeah.
that he does these kind of events in Japan, and everyone is so respectful
Yeah,
and
yeah,
reserved
yeah.
that they don't really go nuts. And then he goes to America.
You're in Monster
everybody's-
Zero.
Oh my God! You're the guy from the and you killed Godzilla, but then he came back, and then in Monster Zero.
But Matt, he seemed to like just love that. He was just
He does.
really
He was great.
excited about it.
Took a million pictures. Like you'd get one thing signed, and he'd take. And he'd start directing the angles of
Oh my
how he
gosh.
should be shot.
Very
It was-
generous with the picture taking.
Yeah, very nice.
Which not every guest is.
No,
And then that's the thing that's like we've done a number of these shows. Like around LA, they do the Hollywood Collector Show,
which I enjoy.
Right, right.
which I enjoy as well. But some, there have been times where I remember going and doing one where they had Michael York, and I remember going up to Michael York with my Logan's Run poster and going, "This is my favorite movie of all time. I loved it when I was a kid. You're great." And he just kind of looked at me and went, like didn't even respond with
Yeah.
a word, just like, yeah.
Well, I guess.
and then signed my poster like he was starting to write "fuck you," and then just trailed off. But I mean, it's a completely different world. You get these guys from Japan; they're still manners apparently over there.
Yeah.
and just a gentleman.
Very cordial.
Yeah, and great in those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
terrific.
really good.
Especially, he played villains and heroes alike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played the gamut of characters. Yeah, a lot of other kind of horror stars. We had Jeffrey Combs is here, Dee
Reanimator.
Wallace,
Cujo.
Sacha Kinski.
Russ Steiner from the original.
Yeah, the original Johnny, right?
Yeah, real Johnny from Night of the Living Dead.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
And he wrote that on my poster.
He wrote that on mine.
Nice. Nice.
And I got a little wet. I don't know where
Did you?
or how, but
It's always a thrill meeting him too, because he's, the second time he could not be more genuine. And it was like, oh, thank you so much for being such a fan, and he's willing to write anything on the.
Well, God forbid that actually happen, where you go to a convention where, hey, it's all about you. You're now with a group of people who love everything you've ever done, even if it's one thing. We love you for it. We remember you. We're going to remember you when you die.
I think there are some celebrities out there that when they go to these shows, I think maybe they do it. It's almost like, oh God, begrudgingly.
beneath them.
Yeah.
And what I love, Matt, is when you meet some of these people
Say my
who
name
are
again.
just,
Say my name again. I like it.
It's just that I love seeing these people who are so happy to sign anything, and they're genuinely happy to have you come in. They're amazed that a film that would last this long, and that this little film that they did, there would be so many fans. I mean, it's just so great to meet them and have them be so genuine.
Yeah, and those are the we've been to. I went to this other one, and you guys, I know you went, but the Weekend of Horrors was another kind of. It's sort of like the Fangoria thing, but it was the one where my good friend Dana Gould was the host.
Days of the Dead.
Days of the Dead. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, and so it had Nancy Heather Langenkamp from. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wonderful.
PJ Souls.
Yeah, PJ Souls,
Dick Miller.
Mary Warnoff.
Mary Warnoff, all these people from Rock and Roll High School. One of my favorite. I'm a giant Crazy Ramones fan, and and everybody was cool. And why not? We love you, and maybe tell some of the bigger stars, tell the ghost of David Carradine, please. Maybe he shouldn't have stared at the floor the entire time I was trying to talk to him.
And at Monsterpalooza, you do get a lot of that more genuine interaction, a little bit more time, especially at the smaller one, I think, than you do at the Hollywood show most of the time. And certainly at something like San Diego, where there's just so many people.
Yeah.
This is just a little bit more intimate.
Yeah, it's nice. And just the artwork, too, of all these different special effects artists who do their own creations. Really cool. And you have to, if you live in this area and you like any of this, even just a little bit of it, you should make this convention, because it's even at its smallest level, it's just a visual delight. And they did a little haunted house maze thing that was fun and just great.
What blows me away, though, is when you go down to one of these little rows and it has all these people getting made up as creatures and stuff.
Yeah, they do makeup.
And I'm looking at all of these booths, and the makeup is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The creatures and the zombies that they're making, and just with makeup, I guess maybe it's just it's expanded. There's more people have gotten involved in it.
I think kind of practical makeup like that is kind of making a comeback, actually.
I hope so.
It really is, as opposed to
prefer
CGI
that,
stuff.
yeah.
I know shows like Face Off on Sci-Fi are popular, and there's kind of a little bit of a renaissance of practical makeup effects and appliances, I think, which is kind of nice.
Did you see the guy that was made up as Frankenberry?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there was a guy done up as
really?
There was a guy done up as Frankenberry,
That's
and you
awesome.
see this guy being made up as Frankenberry, and you go, "Oh, they could do a Frankenberry movie. They could absolutely do a live
do a whole
action
General Mills
Frankenberry
Monster Serial
movie." Yeah,
Matt,
I'll pay for that.
I'm willing to bet General Mills is thinking about that right now. I bet next October, there will probably be a Frankenberry meets Boo Berry movie.
If they
Count Chocula.
You don't want to blow your wad when it comes to sequels. We got to start with Frankenberry.
Boo Berry
House of
will appear at the
Frankenberry.
end credits.
Bride of Frankenberry.
Bride of Frankenberry.
For the new movie.
Have you tried Boo Berry, by the
Oh
way?
my God, I've tried all the Monster cereals.
Chocula's
They're
daughter.
awesome.
But the makeup stuff was amazing. What I also love, because I'm such a toy guy, Matt, what I also love is, in addition to all the makeups, there are these vendors. They have vendors there that have older monster toys and current monster toys. And I try to go to each one and try to see what they have. Is there something that they have that's not in my collection?
You know what I saw this time? Hammer socks. Hammer horror.
What?
Yeah.
What? I didn't see that.
I guess they
want
sold
those.
out.
He's been here for 3
And
days.
it's
That's
closed.
why.
And now the convention's closed, and I knew that I could have.
What is on them? Is it just the word hammer, or is it what?
No,
like, what
one
is?
of them was, I think, Taste the Blood of Dracula. One of them was Dracula.
Are you-
One of them
I
was
missed
Curse of
that.
Frankenstein. They had 3
the
different
one
socks.
thing that could save my marriage,
my
and you
God.
didn't tell me anything about it.
The socks were black, and they
gotta find those.
they had printed on them in red the Dracula ones, and in green the Frankenstein one. And
that's
I
awesome.
don't know, $20 for socks. I'm probably never going to wear. I don't know.
Oh, I'd wear
oh,
those.
you're gonna wear 'em.
I would
Yeah.
wear those.
It's one of those things that you walk away from, and then you think, should I have?
Oh, see,
Yes.
I hate that. You're walking away and you go, I should have got him. I should have bought him.
I'd buy almost hammer anything. Like I love. Yeah, a hammer, like heart valve. Like, no one else would be able to see it, but I'd know that it was there.
Well,
there's always a book and magazine and poster vendors at this show too, so you always find something.
you never leave empty-handed.
Yeah.
But then there are the things that, like, I don't want to shit on anyone's livelihood.
All right.
But go
there,
ahead.
But there are some things that I kind of don't get. And what they have here at Monsterpalooza is, now they have a lot of the children of famous
Horror
monster
stars.
stars.
Yeah.
Horror stars.
You got
So
a
there's,
problem
like,
with that?
Sarah Karloff.
Yeah.
And then they have Ron Chaney.
Yeah, that's great.
Bela Lugosi
and,
Jr.
And Bela Lugosi Jr.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not. I understand. You got to make a living or whatever. And I also like. Wait, hold on.
And
hold on
Vincent
now.
Price's daughter was
And
at this
Vincent
one,
Price's
too.
daughter,
Which
okay?
was a thrill.
Yes.
But okay, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. Go
well,
ahead.
Look,
Go ahead.
Again,
Let me hear you.
I have nothing against them coming here and trying to keep the memory of their parents alive. I think that's fine. But I mean, aside from just so hey, what was your dad like? He really liked toast. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, sometimes he'd come late. He'd come home late because he'd be working at the studio.
So you don't
All right.
you don't like that? Let me tell you. when
He
you
played evil guys, but he was a really nice guy.
No, when
Yeah,
you meet
yeah, right, yeah,
Matt,
exactly.
Matt, when you meet Bela Lugosi Jr., what's so cool about that? First of all,
Is that he kind of looks sort of like Bela Lugosi?
he is Bela Lugosi's DNA. Number one. Number two, you
I'm
can
not-
actually Matt.
If he sold
listen,
his DNA,
no,
then that would be one thing. Then I
Matt.
could clone him, and I could have maybe a Bela Lugosi, or
Yeah.
at least someone who looked closely to him.
Matt, you could get a picture of Bela Lugosi Jr. sitting next to his father, and his father is made up as Dracula, and Bela Lugosi Jr. will sign that, and having that and seeing that picture of him as a little boy next to his dad. God, Matt, that is so cool to me. That is so great.
But it's kind of, you want Bela Lugosi himself's autograph.
This is the
more
next.
than-
No, guys, this is the next best thing. It's like
There is no next best thing.
No. No, you
that
know what-
category doesn't exist for this.
You know
Let me
what
tell
the next best thing would be, and this is something I would never have the guts to actually do. Ask him how much I would have to pay him to dye his hair black, put on the cape and fangs, and pretend to be Dracula.
Now, look, I want to get back to something.
no.
No. Bela Lugosi Jr. by the way,
James needs to be. I need to be able to respond to James.
Okay, you-
First of all, Bela Lugosi never had fangs, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good
go ahead.
point. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, but
But it's my money.
yeah, and so you're kind of like, let's make him my bitch a little bit, like
A little bit.
yeah, like
If he's
here,
going to show up at this show, then there are
Yeah.
potential expectations.
yeah, and wear the Dracula outfit and the makeup and everything else, but then no pants.
Look, I think it's so great that these kids of famous horror stars come out here and they present themselves, and there's either pictures of them with their famous parent, or like Price Girl, she actually wrote a book, which is really, really cool and very informative about her father. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, the stories and information.
and
that's cool.
that is so cool to see in this book. She talks all about what her dad was like and all the nuances that were going on in his mind and stuff. And it is so cool to actually meet her and get her to sign that
But
book.
3 days of that?
Oh, I only met her
Make
once.
her there for an hour.
No.
Make it important, like, you got 1 hour to get
not
next to the
everybody-
person
See, Matt thinks everyone can be here like James.
Vincent
I'm gonna
Price's
be here
wife
for 3
shot out.
days. Not everyone can be here for all 3 days.
But
Matt.
Larry, like maybe meeting them and hearing their stories is one thing, but like I think they're signing autographs themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
They're
that's
signing
kinda
autographs.
odd. Like,
Yeah.
but do you want
Look,
nothing against
you know
Sarah
what it is?
Karloff, but do you want her autograph?
Yes,
Okay.
I want her to sign my Films of Boris Karloff book.
But
That is so great.
I'd rather have the
she's
author of the book sign it, though, in a way.
Sean, she's like an extension of Boris Karloff.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's funny too because
that's like you're saying you're
when I met her last time, I met her last time at the last Monsterpalooza, and I got her to sign this picture of her and her dad, and I was like all thrilled and stuff. And then the guy right before me actually had the book of the films of Boris Karloff, and I look at the guy getting her to sign the book, and I went, "Oh man, I got to do that next time. I got to bring the book." And so when I get her to sign the picture, I go, "Oh, next time I got to bring the book to have you sign." She goes, "Oh, well, I don't know if I'll make it then." No. So, and I said, "No, you will because you're strong. You're tough."
Do you remember what it was you had her sign? Like what you asked her to say in the signature?
I just had her put to Larry, and then she
To Larry, I am not Boris Karloff.
Friend.
To Larry, I occasionally spoke to my father.
Oh, you are so cruel.
Write, friend, good.
Yes.
Friend, good. Yeah. So sometimes it's fun. You can come up with things that relate that you can ask them to sign.
Again, we're kind of veering into this. You are my bitch.
I just what
can I make you do?
I understand.
Yes.
Okay, Matt and Sean have an issue with these people coming and having.
But I don't have an
love
issue.
it. I encourage it, and I hope more do it. I'm moving on.
Okay, well, I'm not moving on. How about that? See, the problem with your whole theory here of that we're getting closer to the people with the children and all that's like, why don't you just sign photos with, like, Eve? Because we're all somehow related to Eve way back in history. So, like, well, I'm sort of your connection to Eve.
First of all, that's millions and millions of years. I mean, Sarah Karloff is literally a direct descendant of Boris Karloff. So I'm a fan. I'm thrilled. I was thrilled to have them be here, and I encourage it.
It's kind of an odd area of fandom for me because it's kind of like, for me, it's like obviously you want the original celebrity. When you don't have that, maybe I don't know.
I have no problem with them being here. I have no problem with them making money. I have no problem with them. Like, if they write a book or all that, like, I totally get that. But the idea of, like, woohoo, it's the kids of
that's me.
It's like the Muppet Babies. Woo!
Yeah.
It's also like, where do you draw the line? I mean, Claude Rains was an iconic Universal monster. Does he have like a grandkid who's going to come and sign?
Ron Chaney is like that because Ron Chaney is actually a grandkid.
Right.
But it's
is his given name Ron Chaney?
Isn't it?
I don't know. I'm just curious. Do you know?
I don't know.
Apparently it is. I've just done some research.
Well, if you think about it, Boris Karloff's real name was William Henry Pratt, and he always had that name.
So Sarah Karloff then is not his child, is what you're saying?
No, Sarah Karloff is his child.
Masquerading as
a different Karloff entirely.
Yes.
She's even confused about who her father is.
Guys, I don't know. I'm not going to debate you. I'm just a big fan. I love it when they came to the show. It's great to chat with them. I feel like it's an extension.
It's interesting.
I mean, we could beat this,
and we are
constantly. Yes,
I know, and I'm not supposed to speak to the last.
Okay, let me just say something. Let me just say one thing here. We have a special guest, a mystery guest. How about that? We have a mystery guest,
a Monsterpalooza.
We have a mystery guest who's going to come on later. But now this mystery guest has a comment of what we have been speaking about
for quite some time.
And
I just had to,
and we need 10 more minutes of it.
I'm going to go with Larry on this one. I think it is. And I think when your heroes have passed and you have direct lineage and you have stories to be told, I think it's fascinating to hear from them. And I think you will all be here in a couple of years, sitting here with the panel of the children of the corn. And so I think you'll all be eating your words. I'm with him. I'll meet Groucho's great.
Sure, meeting them and saying, but like autographs.
Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet.
I love it. No. I love it, Sean. I also love when they can tell you things about your idol that aren't in any book, and I love that. I love sitting and chatting with Sarah Karloff and Ron Chaney.
Okay, all right.
And Bela Lugosi Jr. I just enjoy it.
And as long as there are people that are digging their thing, then I have no problem with that.
And that's one of the great things about Monsterpalooza. They have folks like that here that you could come and check them out, and it's an awesome experience.
Cool. But what are some of the other celebrities that you guys have seen here? Any other people that you got autographs from?
Anyone get Steve Railsback, by the way?
No, I saw him.
He was here.
Didn't get his autograph.
Steve Railsback, who was in a lot of movies. Toby Hooper's Life Force.
Amazing movie.
Right? The stuntman.
Ed Gein.
Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter as Manson. Terrific.
Yeah.
Really, really great Manson.
The great Jeffrey Combs.
Right.
From Reanimator.
And from Deep Space Nine.
And you got his autograph,
and
right,
From
Sean?
Beyond. No, I didn't. I missed it getting his autograph actually, but very cool guy.
There was Lisa Loring from the Addams Family. Wednesday.
Yeah, the original Wednesday.
You know, I don't know how old she is, but like smoking hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Actually, still.
And you could tell that, like, as a little girl, you know, she's cute, but you never know how, like, you know,
they're gonna
child
age.
stars,
Sure.
yeah, it can go any way. But yeah,
I would love to
very
meet her. I would
attractive.
love to meet her daughter and get her autograph. Actually,
Yeah, the Lisa Loring Jr. has written a book about what it's like to be Lisa Loring Jr.
You guys are jerks. Okay. Just
Yeah,
The Addams
chapter
extended
1.
family.
I made breakfast.
there were a lot of other really cool things in Monsterpalooza.
yeah, that's
too.
really good stuff.
Let's not
Oh, the
forget
Kyoto Brothers.
Camille Keaton from I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yes, yeah,
Who,
yeah.
you know, after seeing her in that movie, it's a little hard to, make eye contact with her. But
Yeah, kind of
Okay,
interesting
James.
performance in that movie.
They don't really rape people in movies.
I don't know.
That would sort
was
of
pretty-
dissuade other movies
that was
being made.
Pretty realistic, man.
No,
don't know.
I understand where James is going there. I mean, I know even though that there wasn't a real rape. There was acting as a real
the point
rape.
of the movie,
It's
though,
it's
is that
very
it's this
disturbing,
brutal,
Yeah.
the depiction of this woman, being attacked by these guys, but then she gets horrible bloody revenge.
That's like the last, 25% of the movie. Most
yeah.
of it is her getting raped. And how can you really be a fan of that movie?
Well, I think
Apparently there were.
No, but you look at like Last House on the Left, the same kind of thing. It's like kind of a real horror thing where it's a classic revenge tale.
And
mean,
I would
it really
also
is.
say that that I Spit on Your Grave is there's a build up too. There's like all
Yes.
the weird creepiness before that stuff actually happens. So it's not like it's not just credits and then opening credits and then just rape-a-thon.
Yeah.
It might as well be because it's pretty excessive.
Because
rape
it's
scenes.
horrifying. That means they
Yeah,
did a
but
good
that's
job.
the point, though. It's disturbing and horrifying.
yeah, it's a horror movie.
I can't claim to be a fan of that movie.
You know what's really
It's
cool
effective.
though? In addition to that stuff, there's still they have a lot of great classic monster stuff. And what I'm always impressed with is some of these amazingly talented artists who create these life-size figures of monster creatures. Like there's this guy Mike Hill, who does amazing sculptures. Who's had in the past sculptures of Werewolf of London. And American Werewolf in London, he had a sculpture of Rick Baker doing the makeup of David Naughton, and I swear to God, it looked like it was so incredibly real.
Yeah.
And I love seeing.
It's a
that
good
kind of stuff,
celebration of, like I said, it's a great celebration of practical effects. These conventions.
But let's get back to rape scenes now. No, I'm just kidding.
There's also a celebration of masks. There's a lot of masks on
Yeah.
display
Yeah,
by
some
different
great masks.
companies and creators.
And
that
you
do
see,
them.
like, they had a whole like display of like retro masks that were
Yeah.
made like in the 70s and 80s, like
Yeah.
Don Post stuff. Like
That was fantastic.
those are great.
And they had a
well-
display made up like the famous monsters.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
That was
really
nice.
cool.
I
And
stood there and looked at it for like 30 minutes because it looked like it was a page ripped out of Famous Monsters, and
Yeah.
it was blown up. The only difference was all the masks were in color and they were behind glass,
Yeah.
and that was so cool.
That was maybe
Yeah.
the coolest thing
Yeah.
I saw at the show.
Now we have one of the coolest things I saw was we have a friend of ours, Taylor White, who has a store called Creature Features, and new location going to be opening up very soon on Magnolia in Burbank. And at his booth, he had this full-scale mock-up of the witch from the Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Hazel.
the
Witch
classic-
Hazel.
Witch
yeah,
Hazel.
yeah.
And it's like the thing came to life.
Oh.
It is
Yeah, it was
so great. And
Do you remember the artist who did that?
He's called the Warner
Yeah,
Brothers.
no. The kid who made
they're
it.
calling him the Creature Kid. That's what he's
Yeah.
going by.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
His actual name, I don't remember.
Yeah, really cool though.
Yeah, you can't name a child Creature Kid.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to name my.
Expect him to
That's what
go
I'm going to
into
name
accounting.
my next child is Creature Kid. That's what I'm going to name my next kid.
Yeah, I think so. If Kanye West can name his child Northwest, then why can't I have a Creature Kid?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why can't I rename my wife? Huh? Answer me that.
You can. you can.
for it, man.
How do I
she's
get her
up
to go
for it,
along with
that's- That would be great.
That's the trick.
Yeah. I'd like you to meet my wife, Gorgo. Fine little woman. We have a kid too, but whatever you do, don't mess with that kid because Gorgo will come after you. So now, how do you think this convention rates to, like, the other ones that we've been to, and like, why do we even go to these things? I mean, that's the like when I try to explain to my friends or people I work with, and like I'll say, well, I'm going to Monsterpalooza, and everybody laughs, and they, kind of make fun of me.
They hit you.
And they hit me, and they pants me, and I get a swirly. And I'm in my 40s.
You hang out with some pretty mean people,
I do.
Matt.
My wife is
my
wife is rough.
She does this to you?
No. Well, if you stop calling her Gorgo.
Matt, for me, what I love is you never really know what's coming out in the monster world as far as like toys go. It's always exciting to go.
You like the new releases? I do.
I really do. I mean, there have been a lot of things. There's a company that's actually they came out with a Jekyll and Hyde figure, an Uncle Gilbert figure, and
from the Munsters. Yeah, the creature of the Black Lagoon character.
They also came out with a great Metaluna mutant from This Island Earth, and I mean, there's a lot of great things that are coming out, and it's like, gosh, these are the things I would have loved when I was 9, 12. 13, and they just didn't exist, and they're so beautifully detailed. So anything it's like the latest monster toy, that's one thing, and then of course meeting the celebrities. I think
it's the community too, just like horror fans.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The community, the idea that
really
there's an entire event where there's people all over the place,
like you, who like
this stuff, and girls, a bunch of cute girls dressed up like zombies or somebody from Hellraiser or whatever.
Awesome.
It's terrific.
And then sometimes you run into the same people, and it's nice to see them and say hi.
Sometimes you only see them twice a year at Monsterpalooza.
That is true,
and it's just so cool, and everyone's so excited and happy to be here, and you're all surrounded by monsters. It's like, hey, we're kindred spirits.
Well, it's kind of like I think we're all around the same age. We're all in our 40s, and it's like we grew up as monster kids watching late night horror on TV and stuff, and a lot of that was kind of like when you're little kids. It was kind of like a little bit of a lonely existence in some way, where like you watched these weird, obscure movies on late night television, and you didn't know if anybody else was watching this stuff.
Yeah, nobody else.
They were your own personal experience,
See,
and then you find out that wait a minute, there's other people who have watched and seen Colossus of New York and love it, and
But that's the thing that gets me is that we will talk about, hey, I'm going to go to Monsterpalooza this weekend, and I'm the giant nerd, and yet if I get into a cab, and that cab driver will talk to me to death about sports and the game, and like imagine if I were a cab driver and I just pulled somebody up and just went oh well, what do you guys think of this latest Doctor? Oh man, I hope they keep with the whole Time Lord chronology.
It's true though, yeah.
I mean, and we would never do that. And that's the thing is like when it comes to like the nerdy talk that I have with strangers, I don't whip that stuff out. I'm not going to browbeat somebody with my interest.
I keep that kind of low key too.
Though I do think nerd culture has become a lot more, a little more mainstream now. Though it's a little more accepted. I mean, it's not quite the, kind of
it's not the pariah that it was.
No, it's kind of
there's nerd chic now.
There's nerd chic, exactly.
Yeah, when some, way back when, if someone were to come out with a film called Pacific Rim or even Iron Man,
that would be a porno.
Well, I'm just saying that it's whether it's comic books, superheroes, monsters, a lot of that stuff
in the media,
is now
it's like the mainstream.
It's like it's actually in a way turned mainstream. Even if you want to go horror, like something like a Hostel or the Saw movies, how big those are.
Look at Star Trek. Back in the day when it was only in reruns, it was for geeks. We went to conventions and wore
the first convention was like 100 people or something in the 70s.
Now the Star Trek franchise are tentpole films of the summer.
Yeah, it's a blockbuster.
Well, every tentpole
comic book movies
of every summer is a genre film. It's either sci-fi or horror. I mean, everything. The biggest movies nowadays are sci-fi or horror films.
That's right.
Period.
They're event films, Sean. Yeah.
And even not movies necessarily always a good thing, but they are.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing and that's the thing that always seems to piss off the people that I know who went to Comic-Con and now won't go anymore because they get into this whole thing of like, well, now it's so commercialized because everybody likes it. And like, I get that.
Yeah.
And I understand the idea of like, it's not cult anymore. It's not cool because everybody likes it now. But they don't necessarily like the thing you like, and they don't like it for the reason that you like. And let's face it, there are a lot of posers out there who are, they're going because someone taught them the phrase graphic novel or whatever,
Right.
and now they think they know everything about
Because
that world.
zombies are cool.
Yeah.
Right?
They watched
like zombies.
2 episodes of The Walking Dead, and now they're
experts.
horror.
But you know
Yeah.
what's funny, Matt? I can see that with something like Comic-Con, which has become so big, but Monsterpalooza still, it's small enough to where it's still this group of people. I think it's a smaller group of people who are just love monsters and horror and stuff. And I look around the room and with people made up and just wearing black shirts and stuff like that, and
in costume too, great costumes.
And I that's one reason why I love Monsterpalooza so much is I think it's still small enough to where it's still so much fun, and I don't feel like like it's so packed or
it's not a giant mega entertainment trade show.
Yeah, not yet. Hopefully it won't become that.
True. I mean, only time will tell. But if the listeners, if you haven't gone out and checked out Monsterpalooza, you really should. They have it twice a year in Burbank, and you really should check it out online. And because it is just it's such a fun experience.
Totally.
And sometimes they'll have like a little museum, or like you said, this time they had like a little haunted house thing. It was cool. They actually had people dressed up in really creepy costumes. And
there was like weird.
What was the guy? There's a bug. I actually walked by and I thought it was a statue. And I have to tell you, Matt, he did, because there's a statue. You go into this creepy room and it's all decayed and stuff. And there's this like statue, like zombie-like creature, but it has like this insect that's kind of moving. I'm like, oh, it's like a wax figure. It's got like a little animatronic, and then the thing just lunged towards you and it was, and I'm all, and it actually made me jump.
Yeah, and the movement of this bug was really great. Like you could tell there are these professional makeup people who are putting this whole thing together, because that bug moved like a real bug.
And don't you feel like what's so funny is when I go through them, nothing's gonna scare me. Then you realize there's all these makeup artists out there. They're making all these creepy people. I'm like, okay. You're like, I'm a little stressed out. Like, okay, I know there's gonna be something that's gonna jump out at me.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of state of the art thing.
And so, but it always seems to happen when I least expected it.
Of course.
I mean, there were a couple things. I see that.
The thing that I always fall for is just that type of thing that you just described, where it's the person who you think
There's a
is
mannequin
a statue,
or a dummy. Yeah.
but like, because I knew a guy as a comic, and I'm trying to remember if he told me about this or he did this, but this guy named Bill Dwyer, who's really funny, and he said he would do this thing, like he'd be like either a zombie or a scarecrow, and around Halloween he would just sit in a chair outside his house, and like kids would come up, and all of a sudden he'd just get up out of the chair, and the kids would go, and just traumatize a kid from that point on, which is a beautiful thing. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You got to traumatize your kid early. You got to teach them that life is dangerous, and if you think you're just going to wander up to someone's house in search of free food, that there are consequences.
There are.
Okay, well, there's a lot of cool things at Monsterpalooza, and there's a lot of great movies and surprises, and I just love going.
Yeah, a particular surprise for us.
Yes.
So here we are. We spend this entire day enjoying our monsterdom, and yet someone comes who's a friend of one of the Monster Party cast here, and all of a sudden we are introduced into an entire new world of fright filmmaking.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, on many levels.
Yes, Alan Menken scores is what James is doing.
Well, shall we welcome our guest?
Please,
Jeff Gross.
Welcome, Jeff.
Who the fuck am I?
He's the mystery guest.
I'm the mystery guest.
Jeff is the producer of the independent horror film Birdemic 2: The Resurrection.
Dun, 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 dun.
And Jeff, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
for joining
Jeff.
us.
Be here.
Welcome.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Great to talk
here
about.
at
Great to hear about
Monsterpalooza.
Vincent Price's kids.
Isn't that the greatest?
No,
Jeff, aren't you thrilled that she's here?
I think it's awesome. I would ask her all about Ratigan. He played the bad guy in one of my favorite Disney
the
films.
Black Cauldron.
No, the
Or
other
no.
one.
Oh,
the one that people saw. Great
yeah.
Mouse and Seven.
Yeah. That's right. Right.
And he sings Henry Mancini.
Right.
So
Oh my
I'd be
God,
one of
you're
those
right.
Guys, sorry, I'd be one of those guys like asking what the hell was that about?
Do you still have some of your father's recipes?
Yeah.
She probably
I know.
does, and I think you can go online and get those.
Yeah.
Just to
It's like, hey, how about that voice? But anyway, I produced the sequel to what's considered the worst, one of the worst.
And could you do me a favor? Could you explain to our audience if they're not aware?
Birdemic.
The first Birdemic.
It was many years in the making. A Vietnamese writer director who's very adamant that you stick to his script and writing, and English is his eighth language.
Auteur.
True auteur, absolutely. Who considers himself a modern day Hitchcock.
Perfect.
And he and he made this film. This authentic film called Birdemic, and it's absolutely wonderfully atrocious.
Birdemic Shock and Terror.
Shock and Terror, excuse me. Birdemic Shock and Terror. It's true, because if somebody says Birdemic at a screening, he
loses his mind.
He'll yell at them and
his
say,
head will explode.
Yeah, Shock and Terror.
My God.
So he had a script for Birdemic 2, The Resurrection, and I was asking around why people wouldn't make it, and they were like, well, because he's out of his fucking mind. And
now, it was your wife, Ashley, who introduced you to the first Birdemic
She
movie.
saw it on The Soup. With Joel McHale, and I had a friend. Who worked at E, and we met Joel, and
Who's your friend?
I saw the whole. It doesn't matter. It's a guy I went to high school with. His wife, and she's in charge of E Online.
Okay,
but are we trying to name drop here?
No,
is that what
I
the
know.
show is about.
No,
who knows who?
It's all about name
eventually.
dropping.
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
But there have been.
But the point
And
is
it's hard-
that I
yes.
contacted him and realized that he was out of his mind, and I raised the money based on the worst pitch I've ever heard, which is it's a sequel to the worst film ever made.
Is that how it was pitched?
And there's no distribution, and he needs to make it, and the actors will come back if there's a real producer this time, who will provide things like pizza.
Right.
And
Of course.
Now, the stakes were high because this film
Stakes
has gotten
were
a
high.
lot of cult attention.
Yes.
I was going to say the first one kind of did become a bit of a cult hit.
Yeah,
right?
and that's
mean,
what's weird is you're like how this is the first time I think ever anyone's ever made a sequel where everyone's in on the joke except the director. And that's what I said to the actors is you kind of got to do this movie because in the first one you all look deluded, nobody knows whose fault it is. And in this one you could sort of come back, give an honest performance, but it's pretty obvious that it's the director's unique vision that made
a little bit like The Room, right? Kind of a little bit like
Yeah,
that situation.
Tommy Wiseau.
right?
And I've got to meet wonderful people. I've met Juliet, who plays Lisa in The Room, and the problem is that Tommy is aware that the first one is bad, and with our director James Wynn, he thinks it's really the original is really great.
He really
and it
does
has
genuinely
heart,
think that.
Wow.
and the sequel could just be bigger and better.
Wow.
And so I basically had to just raise the money privately and let him and built him a bigger bus.
And you don't think that in his heart
Yes.
of hearts?
No.
No.
I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, of course you do.
Well,
No.
this is an unprecedented project as far as I'm aware. If someone's actually saying, "Okay, here's the money to make this movie as you want to make it," and he's sincere in how he wants to make it, but in doing that, we know that what the product is going to be, hopefully, is a lot like the first one, only bigger and better,
Exactly.
and entertaining in the same way.
And what I think is most interesting is, and this is a good little insight into his brain, into the director's brain, was we had the main character's best friend died with a throat slash from a bird in the original film, and he wanted to bring him back as a resurrected caveman in the sequel. Now, no. We shot the scene per the script where it's a close up of him with his throat slit
Right.
from a bird attack, but then he realized, wait a minute. If he was resurrected, that throat slit never would have happened.
Is he confusing
So
resurrection with reincarnation?
He doesn't quite know the word. He doesn't know how to spell it because I had to buy the domain name with 2 S's, and which is okay. But, he concentrates on things like, but the caveman would actually be dust, and continuity doesn't matter at all. But he sees things that normal people don't see.
Is it kind of like a modern day Ed Wood in a way? I mean,
He is absolutely.
very, very
He's absolutely devoted
vehement
to his
and very
craft.
dedicated,
Absolutely.
but like the result is
he doesn't know what an in-joke is.
But you did get to some celebrities or some beautiful.
I got some
women
beautiful playmates because I have
Oh,
really
you got
good friends
Playmates.
who
You got
work
Playmates.
at Playboy.
From Playboy.
And we have topless.
Playboy Playmates?
We have a topless scene in the movie, but I would never use Playmates. Like the Playmates I use in films are traditionally friends.
Right.
Girls
Well, who
that
did you
really
use?
Like we used Carrie Stevens, Miss June
1997.
Oh my god.
Very good. Who's such a wonderful person. She plays the wife of the tree hugger.
She's been in some Sci-Fi Channel movies.
She's
Okay.
a lovely. She's just such a gentle sweetheart. And then,
But she's not the one that gets topless.
no,
No.
I don't need. I don't want.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want
topless
No.
Playmates?
No,
No, that would be.
No, in fact, nobody
that would
ever.
just be
never
stupid,
wanted-
Larry.
You can get girls from
Sorry,
Central Casting
Yeah,
to do
I
the
didn't even.
topless.
Call me old-fashioned.
I didn't have anything to do with the cast.
You get the ones that you want to
The
be topless. You
topless
get them from the bus
casting.
stop. You get them. Promise them a bowl of chili.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
And there's a jellyfish scene with Jordan Monroe.
Jordan
Miss-
Monroe, who's from
More-
2004. I can't
She goes
remember
from
the
brunette
month,
to blonde. Now James, who's Vietnamese, only sees beauty in blonde. So he didn't
Okay.
even he didn't even acknowledge Carrie in the Playmate sense. But
Really?
Jordan,
He does,
because
after all,
she
take
was-
after Hitchcock with his predilection.
There's the
Yeah,
connection
that
right
makes
there.
Yes, and that is the only connection.
Oh wait a
I
minute.
guarantee
Is he in
you've seen it.
each movie in a cameo?
He does a cameo.
Are you
Absolutely does.
serious?
Yeah. He's in a cameo. He's
That's
in a cameo in
terrific.
this one.
That's great.
Absolutely. It's
Now, do
absolutely.
you think the resulting sequel? Do you think it's going to have the same kind of cult following? You think it's going to do?
You
as
know
well?
what it is? What it is. You know, as long as I gave him
wanna
the
see it.
tools. Thank you. As long as I gave him the tools of, well, I showed you some behind the scenes, so
Yeah.
you cheated and you know it's
Yeah,
all
but-
real. Because everybody else goes, the director has to know how horrible the first one is. No, my director doesn't. In fact, I wouldn't have done the sequel.
Well, how does he respond when people laugh at it in screenings?
Well, he's the kind of guy who people go, James, I love you. Your movies suck, and he says thank you because he only heard James,
Right.
I love you.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example. Like I said, when I said, I said this in front of him, in front of an audience, and I said if Hitchcock directed a film in his current condition, Birdemic would have been the result. James
Oh my
jumped
gosh.
up the stage and hugged me because I compared him to Hitchcock.
Wow.
Now the film did get great responses. You took it around the world.
We took it
right?
around the
You took
world.
it to
We
Europe.
went to France.
Are you serious?
And let me tell you, France went crazy. They dressed up in bird costumes.
Oh my
Wow.
And where they could
God bless them.
I can't wait. I gotta see
cinema.
this.
Yeah,
Of course, we
were
got to
at
do a Birdemic weekend.
Nottingham was huge for us. That's in England still. And
Is Birdemic 3 Beyond Thunderdome far away?
no, he wants
Birdemic
to do
3D.
Well, what's beautiful is
Gotta be
he
3D.
absolutely
Gotta be 3D.
He always intended it to be a trilogy. So we'll see.
Nice,
my.
nice.
And he's got a title, Sea Eagles, which honestly he bases all of his ideas on what he sees on the news, and he misheard what I believe seagulls attacking a town. So this is called
Eagles.
Sea Eagles.
That's
I thought.
genius.
See, I thought it was like a
ends.
dictionary thing, or it was like sea
No,
eagles.
no.
the Eagles.
Sea Eagles.
Yeah.
Go to like basic.
Yeah.
no.
And as we were
See
speaking
the
about,
Eagles.
tentpole franchises earlier, he does refer to Birdemic now as a franchise.
He really truly
Wow.
believes that he could take over the next Batman franchise if there's another trilogy.
Well, James and I
He's
could
limited
only welcome that.
by
Yeah, really.
He's limited. Yeah, right. Get Bill Murray in the role as intended.
Yeah.
Right,
Wow.
and have him have a field day. But
Cool.
no, we did this totally. We didn't. I mean, we had offers from celebrities to do wink cameos, and I denied them all.
You did. Oh, you did.
No, because
then you're like tipping your hand, right?
Yes,
Yeah. No, you're right,
anyone,
you're right.
And I said to the actors when we started, I said anyone could turn to the camera and wink. Anyone could do
That'll
that.
ruin
But
the
a
whole
real
effect.
actor
Yeah.
gives the director, no matter what the director is, they signed on, gives the director what they think they want.
Right.
And the
Totally.
big
And that's why I
challenge
think
here-
it works.
The big challenge here is
know?
that you can't predict. A cult audience is too sophisticated to, if it is a wink thing, then they're going to be very cynical about the result.
Absolutely. As soon as as soon as you go, hey, look how funny we are, look how silly and cheesy we are.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things on the cutting room floor where it almost looked intentionally bad that we cut.
Oh yeah.
Right.
To
That's
make
smart.
sure, and that's unbelievable. I mean, that we cut things that were so bad that.
One thing I remember, I've seen the film a couple of times now.
Sorry.
Jeff was kind enough to invite me to,
Yes, but you enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Ironically, I
James.
actually enjoy the first part before the birds even show up,
Yes.
even more than I enjoy after they show up. But
Well, don't give anything away.
But zombies are a part of this one for reasons too complicated.
So it all
to-
wraps around.
One of the amazing things
Zombies,
about it is
cavemen.
Resurrection.
Wow.
the zombies come out of the
got
grave and
everything,
they're all
man.
wearing sweats. And you think, these people were buried in these clothes? I don't know. Usually you put a suit on.
They were
You know
like,
what's wonderful
"Let's
about
go to
James? James notices these things. I'm just worrying about the day. I'm just worrying about like at 6 o'clock. We got to get the hell out
A
of here.
trailer park
Yeah.
was hit by a catastrophe. and they just-
we're filming
mass
at
grave.
an actual cemetery, and there's part of me going, this is,
Now,
is this
part of this
right?
part of this was also filmed on the Universal lot
This is
on
a
the
Universal
Jaws
lot.
set.
That's pretty awesome.
What?
How did you guys
Adamant.
manage to do that?
He could not care about Spielberg one iota. I don't think he could name a Spielberg film, but it's where Hitchcock was.
Right.
So it's the
Oh,
fact that
okay.
we happened to be at Amity Island, which
Oh,
to me
nice.
was amazing. And
How
I
did
was
you get
like,
to film in
nobody touched
Universal?
anybody. I gotta say,
did you sneak on the set?
No, we begged. I'll tell you a funny story about that quickly.
Please.
They we couldn't obviously shut down the tour or anything
Right.
like that. That would be incredibly expensive. But they did promise to shut like the gas where we were filming with one fire burst. And I get a letter in the mail from Universal, extremely apologizing, saying we forgot to turn off that one gas thing, and we'll give you half the money back, or you can come back for a full day and reshoot the whole thing at no cost to you.
Wow.
And so I said, put the check in the mail now, because none of us even knew that, and that's the kind of filmmaking.
You could have shot a whole nother film in that one day.
A whole other film,
yeah.
that Jaws day, and he was under a lot of stress, and he blew up, and you could see that on the DVD. I got to do a little plug. So
No,
get
plug
the
away,
Birdemic 2
plug away.
Resurrection DVD.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It's out now.
Yeah.
It's out now. It's out now.
Video on demand?
It's on video on demand.
Nice.
Time Warner, Cox, all of them. I just assume they accepted it without saying. I was amazed because they don't accept everything. And they were just like, yeah, we want this.
This is so great about Monsterpalooza. You never know who you're going to meet, who's going to be there.
I literally walked in here for
I'm so
Cheetos.
thrilled. I'm so thrilled.
Now,
the
that's what we do.
spirit of
We
independent horror.
have like a little trail of snacks that lead to the
Skittles
room.
that-
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get
Pieces.
some filmmaker to come in.
Yeah.
Whoa, what's this?
Now the first
Birdemic 2, get in here.
Yeah, it literally was that. I
Yeah.
knocked on the door.
the first one was shot in the Bay Area,
Yeah,
following
where
the
he
birds,
is.
of course,
Yeah.
in Bodega Bay and all that. But this one was shot here in L.A.
Yeah.
And the tagline is
Oh, I came up with the tagline. Hollywood is about to take a beating.
Nice.
It was always you asked for it because that was just
Right,
a holdover.
right.
And the second that I saw the poster delivered, the Hollywood's about to take a beating, and I asked James. I said, "Does it work for you?" And he goes, "Absolutely," knowing full well he didn't know the entendre. Is there an entendre or only double entendres?
It
Does
might be
single entendres work?
as long as you get an entendre in there.
Yeah,
That's really
I was
all that
very
matters.
happy
Yeah.
with it. We did the picture.
That's why it's popular
Yeah.
with. Is that a French word?
Yeah,
there you
sounds
go.
like it
There
because
you
of the
go.
way it's phrased. But there are things like he shoots against, in completely white backgrounds where your normal filmmaking background says, do anything but that. Put up posters, shoot a different angle. But with him, you had to
It's
just
stark
shut
reality.
up. So I would constantly be pulling the assistant directors over and telling them, just be quiet and give him what he wants if it's feasible.
now the first film was also championed by Cinefamily here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the first time I learned about it.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in Birdemic 2 that was shot at Cinefamily.
Correct.
And you premiered the film there.
Yes.
And at the premiere,
Yes.
I noticed in the audience the dentist from Troll 2.
Nice.
How did this happen?
Don't cross the streams.
No. We crossed a lot of streams that night. Okay, Lisa, my friend Lisa, Julia Danielle. She's in the room. She's Lisa. She did come to the premiere. And George flew in from Alabama. George, who plays the dad
How
who
did that
plays
happen?
the dad
How
from
did you get in touch?
After I did Birdemic 2, I think the lead actor Alan, who knew Juliet and George, started to say, like, you got to work with this producer. He really knows what he knows to deliver. He knows to deliver what the audience wants, meaning give the director full reign. So I became friendly with them, and they all came out for it, and they loved it. And to tell you, I could say it here. They've all wanted to do a film with me. now. So I was thinking of taking the worst of the worst and making a movie, but then it's very, very, it's too calculated. So it really, I'd have to find a writer director who literally is straight out of the asylum. And has no idea who these people are.
We are in L.A.
What a room is,
Right.
And that's the problem. If I could find a writer director who knew nothing about anything but was passionate, then I'm very happy to make this picture with Alan Bach, who stars in Birdemic and Birdemic 2, and George Hardy, who is the dad, you don't piss on hospitality from the room, and Juliette Danielle, who's an absolute angel and a champion for animal welfare, and I'd love to do a picture with all of them, and they all want to do a movie with me together, but I cannot do a calculated picture.
Well, maybe on the next movie you could have like a little scene with 4 guys recording Monster Party or something.
Yeah, I think
you
guys are all in it.
Or something.
Just on this interview, I would love to kill you all. Thank you for having me.
We get that a lot.
I really appreciate you having me. I'm more honored. I'm more honored.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You've made me very excited about Birdemic 2.
The Resurrection.
I can't wait to see it, and I'm glad you came and found this Skittles. So, again, Monster Party, guys, again, you never know who you're going to meet out here. You got to check it out.
And what you're going to learn.
It's a party.
Yeah.
It is a monster party, and it continues to be, and it will continue to be in the future.
So, how about we lift up our glasses and say, keep America
Clink.
strong. And
keep watching monster movies.
That's right. Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monsterpalooza party.
Monsterpalooza party.